Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Reardon, and today we're making gingerbread Christmas cookies. We have a tradition in our family of making a gingerbread house every Christmas, and I showed you how to make the houses last year and had a lot of requests for gingerbread cookies. These are easy to make and lots of fun for everyone to get involved in decorating. To make your gingerbread dough, place the butter in a saucepan and melt it over a high heat. All of the recipe quantities that you need are on the website howtocookthat.net, and you'll also find a few different gingerbread house designs there and a whole page of gingerbread house ideas for you to check out. I'll put a link to this recipe in the description just below the video, and that will link to all the other pages. Then measure out your sugar and your syrups. I'm using a mixture of glucose syrup and golden syrup. You can use some corn syrup, maple syrup, or even honey. The choices that you make will change the flavour and the colour of your cookie dough a little bit, but just substitute equal quantities there. Stir that into your butter over a high heat and lift up your spoon to see if your sugar is dissolved. Here you can still see the sugar crystals still on the spoon, so you need to keep stirring it until it looks clear like this. Then take it off the heat, pour in the milk and stir that through. Add in your flour and then sift in the ground ginger, the cloves, the bicarb and your cinnamon. The reason I'm sifting them is to make sure we don't get any little lumps of spice in one spot. And then stir that through well. One of the things I like about this recipe is you don't need electric mixers with a dough hook like lots of the gingerbread recipes do. Spread out some plastic wrap onto your bench and then tip out your mixture. At this stage it'll be soft and sticky and gooey like this. Wrap it up in the plastic wrap and leave it at room temperature to cool. Once it's cooled, it'll be the right consistency to roll it out. So roll it on some baking paper and then use some cookie cutters to cut out your shapes. And if you don't have any cutters, you can just print out shapes onto paper and use that as a template and cut around it using a knife. Then remove the excess dough. You can roll that out later to make more cookies. Or just cut squares using a ruler. The amount of dough makes approximately 50 cookies. It'll depend on the shapes and sizes that you're making. Slide the paper onto a baking tray and bake it in the oven at 180 degrees for about 12 minutes. The time will vary depending on the thickness you roll your dough and the size of your cookies, but once you can smell that gingerbread smell wafting through the room, they're probably done. If you're baking squares, then you need to take it out of the oven and redo the cuts straight away. The gingerbread's still quite soft when it first comes out of the oven, but it'll firm up quickly as it cools. To make your icing, you'll need icing sugar or confectioner's sugar, powdered egg white, or if you can't get hold of that, then the meringue powder or pavlova mix are both fine, and some water. Mix the egg white into the icing sugar and then add most of the water. If you're using powdered egg white, then you'll probably need nearly all of it. If you're using pavlova mix, then you'll probably need a bit less. Then mix on medium speed for about 5 minutes. Stop the mixer and lift up the beaters, and if it's ready, it should have soft peaks that just bend over slightly when you lift it up like this. Split the mixture into as many bowls as you want colours and mix through some gel food colouring. If you want pastel colours, then liquid colour would be fine, but if you want stronger colours, then you're going to need to use the strong gel colourings. I'm just going to colour them red, white and green for these cookies. If you do want black, then you'll need to mix in some cocoa powder and then lots of black food colouring. Scoop it into a piping bag, or you can use a Ziploc bag, and cut a tiny bit off the end so that you get a thin continuous stream of icing when you squeeze the bag. Draw an outline on your cookies. If you want different areas of colour, then draw a border to separate them out too. You can use the same colour for the outline as you want to use for filling in the middle section, or you can use a contrasting colour for the outline. And of course you can use more than one colour on each cookie to outline different areas as well. Once you've finished doing all your outlines, then let them rest for about 5 minutes and then take some of your leftover icing and mix some water in with it. Now you only want to add a few drops at a time. You want it to be runny enough to meld down into itself when you drizzle some from a spoon, but you don't want it to be too watery. If it's too watery, once it's been on the cookie, it will soak in and leave it looking strange. Add some onto the cookie and then use a toothpick to spread it out to the edges and into all those little corners. Tap it a few times to smooth it out and release any air bubbles. If you want, you can of course add decorations to the wet icing. On these green Christmas trees, I'm using some mini M&Ms. Then you can repeat that for your other colours. To avoid the colours running into each other, if you want your cookies looking perfect, then let each colour dry before you add the next one. Once the icing is fairly dry, you can go back and pipe more details over the top. I used the rest of my dough and my squares to make a nativity scene, which I'll show you closer to Christmas. Thanks for your suggestions. Subscribe for more desserts, chocolate and cake decorating tutorials, and add all your requests in the comments below. Have a great week, and I'll see you Friday.